Okay. Oh, there she is. Good afternoon. The Memphis Landmarks Commission is hereby called to order for its regularly scheduled meeting of September the 28th, 2023. My name is Cindy Grivich Tucker, and I'm the chair of the commission. Mr. Brett Ragsdale serves as the executive secretary of the commission. Mr. Ragsdale, may I get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Gill? Here. Ms. Love?
Here.
Mr. Winter?
Present.
And Ms. Strong?
Here.
And Chair Tucker?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The Memphis Landmarks Commission and the local historic district provisions are established to ensure preservation of structures that are of historic value to Memphis. Our function is to preserve significant resources, enhance community pride, and foster civic beauty and ensure compatibility within designated historic districts. The Commission is authorized to review projects and determine their appropriateness based on the design review guidelines. At this time, I would like to swear in the staff. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary, please provide us a secretary's report if there is one this month, and then explain the procedure for this meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a secretary's report, so I'll go into procedures, which will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda are found on the right podium. For each case, staff at the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, the commission will hear first from those speakers in support of the application, then from those speakers in opposition to the application, and the speakers will have 3 minutes each. And then finally, the applicant will have 3 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the commission. The chair may provide additional time provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the commission will be sworn in by the chair. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's cards for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's cards can be submitted to any DPD planner at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicants since their names are already part of the record. After all parties have been heard, the commission will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. All motions by this commission will be made in the affirmative. The bylaws governing the commission require the affirmative vote of a majority of the attending members to approve an application. The commission may also vote to hold an application for a period of 1 month. Madam Chair, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Okay, thank you. At this point, the commission will establish a consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the secretary will call out each eligible case. If any member of the audience or commission objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands when the secretary reads the case. Once the consent agenda is established, the commission will vote on all cases placed on the agenda as a whole and will not hold individual public hearings on each case. Mr. Secretary, which items on our agenda are eligible to be placed for consent?
Yes, Madam Chair, and I'm going to list the cases that are just holds, and then I'll do the consent agenda. So item number 1 and item number 7, item number 12 and 13 are all holds. And so the consent agenda will be as follows. Item number 2, COA 2023-089, 1246 North Parkway in the Speedway Terrace Historic District. Item number 3, COA 2023-113, 1106 Terry Circle in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. Item number 5, COA 2023-135, 1527 Felix Avenue in the Roselle-Ansdale Historic District. Item number 6, COA 2023-137, 975 South McLean Boulevard in the Roselle-Ansdale Historic District. Item number 8, COA 2023-142, 1778 York Avenue in the Central Gardens Historic District. Item number 9, COA 2023-145, 1390 Benton Avenue in the Central Gardens Historic District. Item number 10, COA 2023-148, 770 Stonewall Street in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District. And item number 14, COA 2023-153, 915 North Barksdale Street in the Valentine Evergreen Historic District.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the secretary?
Motion to approve.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I would like to remind the commission that by voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report and is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, may I have a roll call?
Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Winter?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Ms. Love?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. If you are approved for any of these cases that were just listed on the consent agenda, you have been approved. You do not need to remain at the meeting, but are welcome to stay for the remainder of the cases. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, I would like to state that the minor COA applications as listed on the agenda have been reviewed and approved by the Commission. The Commission will now continue with the regular hearing of the major COA applications as listed on the agenda. Mr. Secretary, would you call the first case?
Item number 4, COA 2023-125, 1940 Netherwood Avenue in the Glenview Historic District.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? Could you come forward, please? Thank you. Could you state your name and address?
My name is Nicole Lawrence Lowe.
Okay, thank you. Would you hold your right hand up?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Have you looked at the staff report?
Yes.
Are you in agreement with the staff report and its conditions?
I am not in full agreement of the staff report and its conditions.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have the staff show it.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Nicholas Fordrup, Division of Planning and Development. This is a request in the Glenview Historic District at 1940 Netherwood Avenue to replace doors and windows and do roof repair, but also construct a new second floor and rear addition to a historic structure. So here's a location map where we are. We're in the sort of in the eastern side of the Glenview neighborhood, close to Lamar Avenue on Netherwood. Here's an aerial of the site. Here's an existing street view from Netherwood Avenue looking north. You can see the front facade of the subject structure. And this is the left side as seen from Netherwood Avenue. Here's the applicant's proposed front door. And here are some side-by-sides of existing and proposed elevations. And I want to say that when you're looking at these, probably the best way to get a sense of this scale is to look at the chimney, right? So you can see the existing were much shorter than the chimney and the proposed much taller than the chimney. So here's the existing and proposed front elevations. The rear elevations, of course, these are not visible from the right-of-way, just to give context. Here's the right elevation and the left elevation. Here are both sides, right and left, right on top. And here is the left elevation. This is the one staff really has the concerns about. Here's an existing and proposed floor plan. I can come back to this later if anyone has questions about it. Sorry, here's the ground floor and the second floor. And getting into our analysis of the Glenview neighborhood guidelines, first talking about mass and scale, essentially we feel that if the addition was constructed as designed, it would no longer, the structure would no longer appear mass and scale to the traditional neighborhood structure. It also lacks the modularity encouraged by the guidelines and would overtake the original structure in terms of visual impact, where the guidelines encourage all additions to be subordinate to the historic structure. However, and this is basically our central finding, that We feel it's possible to address these issues through a revised design like our proposed sketch on page 8 of the staff report. And that's why we're recommending approval subject to a revised design and staff review of that design. Again, the guidelines encourage 1 or 1.5 story heights along the street, which is why staff is recommending basically the addition be shrunk and the mass of it be moved further away from the street. Another key recommendation of the guidelines is that the original character of the structure be preserved so that, a pedestrian walking by can tell, this is the historic structure versus the addition. And staff feels that the design as proposed does not do that, but it's possible to do an addition somewhat like our proposed revision that would achieve that guideline. And again, we don't feel that the mass of the addition as proposed would be, quote, subordinate to the original building. So here are our conclusions. I won't go through the full text, but it's down here on the bottom is sort of a summary. Essentially, we're recommending approval of the idea that you can do an addition on this structure appropriately, not approval of the design. This design in particular we think is inappropriate. So here is staff's proposed revision. Of course, this is not to scale. So we're recommending that the applicant be required to revise the design to be something in this neighborhood, shrinking the size of the addition, moving it further back off the street, further away from the front facade of the home. And staff would, of course, review and approve that design before issuing the COA. And it could be a gable or hip roof. This is in the staff report, but this is basically a line-by-line analysis of the guidelines, citing the guidelines, why we are recommending this revision in particular, why we think that a revision like the one we've proposed will be more consistent with the guidelines. And now getting into conditions, I won't go through all of them unless someone on the commission or in the audience would like me to. But essentially, condition 1, which is the one, to my understanding, the applicant would like to discuss, is that they will have to revise the design to be shrunk, move back further off the front facade of the house, and staff would have to review and approve that revision before a COA is issued. And then I also want to call your attention to condition number 8, as it appears on your screen about the brick unpainted. This is just an oversight on my part. This is something me and Ms. Lowe talked about and agreed to way back in late July, just for us to put in the staff report. So we're also recommending condition number 8, which doesn't appear in the staff report. And so with that, I can answer any questions.
Commissioners have questions for staff?
Walking through the slide that you said walks line by line with the concerns staff has with the guidelines.
You mean like, are you speaking about this slide up on your screen now?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
So guideline N17 uses the word subordinate module, the term subordinate module, for what an addition to a historic structure should be. We think that a revision like the one we've proposed will be more of a, quote, subordinate module than what is currently proposed by the applicant. Guideline N20 discourages 2-story wall heights along the street. So our proposed revision would move the mass of the addition further back away from the street. We also feel that it's difficult, if the addition were constructed as designed, it would be difficult to be just a pedestrian on the sidewalk and tell, this is the historic home versus this is a contemporary addition. We think that the revision we proposed would achieve that a little better by, making it more obvious, but in an appropriate way, the difference in history there. We also feel that if constructed as designed, the addition would become the most visually impactful part of the structure, not the historic architectural details. And that's guideline A5, the Glenview Neighborhood Guidelines.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. You have 5 minutes for comments.
Okay, just as an overview of the plan that was presented, my thought is in the investment that I will be making into this home and to bring value to that area. The person that left me that home was a citizen of this community, a Vietnam veteran. He was actually shot while being a postman, trying to save someone's life right in that very neighborhood. So that home has a lot of historic memories. He was a pastor in this community, and that church is right in that neighborhood, in that area. So to pay homage to him, as well as to bring value to that community and continue to pour in that area, I think the plan that I have presented will be functional for my family to live in that space. And the plan that was suggested, I think takes away from the design that I'm trying to attempt to accomplish. It will decrease my green value because it'll take more of the backyard away, and I won't have that green space. And just from that standpoint, I'm keeping everything on the front side in its current state, just improving the condition of the home because it does need repair. And from the previous hearing that we had during the call, Councilor Strong did recommend additional windows to that back portion, and we made those changes to make it more aesthetically pleasing to the eye in that area, and so it'll make the home flow better, and I want to make the top portion more functional. That's my goal.
Okay, thank you. Do y'all have questions for the applicant? What's the square footage difference between what staff is proposing and what you have down? Do you know? Do y'all know?
I don't have the exact number on the square footage. It's just basically in opening up the attic area. It's 2 spaces to the attic area,
Okay.
and I'm just opening up the second portion, the middle portion, to make it a functional space.
I do have, for your designer, did they present to you any other design options other than this one when you first went through this whole process?
Yes, so we have submitted several other options, and each one we've made all of the changes that have been suggested, even in decreasing the floor plan where the spaces are like in the plus sign almost, making it a box of a plus in that recreation area to scale that wall back in. So we'll have the outer portions, but it's not taking it wider than what the home is now, if you look in that second floor plan there. So we've decreased that because the initial was to open it all the way up, but we did decrease that space as well.
Could we see the front of her proposed?
Proposal by staff, when you were referring to the roof options, where I think you talked about a gable and
That's what I
what was
looked
the, could you go back to that slide? Suggestion by staff was a gable, and what was the other suggestion for the roof?
We just noted that it could be a gable or a hip roof. Both could be appropriate.
Thank you. from that proposal, whether it was a gable or a hip roof,
From hers?
was it, my understanding, it was just the roof. It was not necessarily reducing the size, or is it?
So this would set it significantly back, and, you know, we are not proposing any change to the footprint. It would just be moving it farther back, and obviously it would have to be smaller to accomplish that.
So in this drawing, it almost looks like an attached addition. I mean, am I looking at it wrong? As opposed to a part of the house itself. Is that true? You know what I'm saying? It looks like it's, instead of incorporating into the body of the existing house, it's just adding footage to the back of it.
Yeah, that would be a good way to characterize it, I think. You know, it would be more obviously an addition, which is something in our reading of the guidelines is encouraged.
You know what I'm saying?
I do, but I think that I think that's achieving one of the staff's concerns about making the addition subordinate to the main historic structure.
Do you think that makes it more subordinate? Oh, well, we're not supposed to be talking.
Right.
We'll do that in a minute. Any other questions for the applicant? Did you have anything else you'd like to say too?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Well, let's have a motion to for the public hearing portion.
For the purposes of discussion, put forward the motion that we approve COA 2023-125, 1940 Netherwood Avenue.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay. So what were you going to say?
So I understand what you're saying. And make the sketch that staff has proposed makes it look like it's maybe an addition in the back. But I think that that's the purpose in some ways, is to make the addition feel subordinate to the main historic structure. I think one concern I have, if you look at Steph, you can go to the slide that shows the existing front elevation compared to the new elevation. I think one good point that was made about this is the mass of the addition as proposed currently has a much larger presence on the street, and it's not as scaled to the human as the design guidelines would suggest. You can tell there's much more of a, forgive the term, forehead on the front of the building. There, you can see the addition comes closer to the street, and it presents as much more of the roof area, which increases the height and the mass and the feel of the structure on the street. And I think what staff's proposal is to pull that back on the existing building a little bit further back, so that the front part of the building that's historic maintains its historic structure and its presence on the street. Right, yeah, it maintains the existing roof line and lets the addition be subordinate to that existing structure, which, I mean, the guidelines suggest that, and I do think it's appropriate. I understand the applicant's concerns about square footage and the usability of the house, and also made some good points about the usability of green space. If the square footage that she needs has to be pushed further into the lot, I understand those things, but I do agree with staff's interpretation of the design guidelines.
So in this drawing, the roof line just goes straight. There's no old roof line, or is that just a bad drawing? It goes up.
I think both are true. I think both are true. I think my understanding is that the addition would come.
And Madam Chair, if I may, so if you're looking at this image here, our proposal doesn't change the footprint of what they're proposing. So to the right of that bottom image, that's the addition. Okay. To the house. Our proposal would be that same addition. It just wouldn't expand the attic to the front. So that's the square footage that you would be losing. So there's no additional You're not losing any additional yard or anything.
Okay, that's
without
good.
proposing.
Good clarification. So just to clarify one more time, you're saying that on the bottom proposed elevation where it says siding, a little triangle between the chimney and the three-bay window right there, that's what's being proposed to be removed?
Right, and just to leave the existing roof line essentially the way it is. So you wouldn't, there's still some, I think that the attic space existing has some access, but it's pretty minimal, I would guess. And so the proposal is to expand that, and with that expansion is what we feel like is really adding this piece that can't really be integrated, or at least it has not been proposed, so.
Right.
Is that accurate?
So by doing that, it disconnects the existing roof line from the proposed roof line, right?
So essentially, that's taking away that front part of the new recreation area, essentially, like just kind of pulling that one back a bit. Yeah. And I guess making space into the existing attic area as well. So essentially, we're just removing that additional attic space that's between, that's going above the living room, bedroom section. And I agree with that. Like we said, I think it's mainly that slope that's affecting it in the front. And if even that was a difference of a roof structure where it comes in as a gable or some sort of other option that could kind of integrate it and actually show itself as being a separate item, then that would help and maybe not lose too much of the square footage that she was anticipating reclaiming at that location. But yeah, for me, I feel like the overall locations of windows and doors and doesn't quite flow at all. It's pretty much being informed by the layout of the interior versus really how the exterior works together with the new upper and lower floors. But just for what is prominent in the front, if there's some way that we could diminish that presence of the roof being bigger than the actual
That's the part
view of the
that
structure.
bothers me on her.
Yeah. So, I'm with that at least being revised.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I think it's just hard to visualize the drawing that in the staff report isn't obviously 100% accurate, so it's just a little bit deceiving in terms of what the proposed modification would be. It sounds like the proposed modification is a lot more minor than what the drawing might lead you to believe.
Okay. Any other comments? Discussion? Okay. Y'all ready to? Is it yours? Reword it to go with staff's or? Huh? Did you rewrite it? Okay.
I was gonna, Madam Chair, I was going to ask, did the original motion include all of the conditions staff proposed? Okay. All right, I just want to confirm.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Okay.
You want her to restate?
I think the proposal is to approve with staff's conditions, including the number 8 that wasn't in the staff report, without objection. No, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, can we have a vote?
Yep. Ms. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Winter?
Yes.
Ms. Strong?
Yes.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. Love?
Yes.
Chair Tucker?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you.
Right, and our last case, we are not sure if the applicant's here, but I think they may be, is item number 11, COA 2023-1.